The move is an experimental one on the city's part. Officials are trying to figure out whether that will cut down on crime, on the theory that the 4-day work week, with each man working 10 hours a day, will put more policemen on the street during the high crime hours of darkness. The city didn't go into the experiment with its eyes closed. Officials did a lot of research first. Other cities of comparable size, such as Atlanta, have tried the 4-day work week and are dissatisfied with it. But officials in Memphis, Tennessee say they're very happy with policemen on a 4-day work week.
Under the old plan, we had 36 ward cars on duty 24 hours a day under 3 equal shifts. Under the present plan, we have 27 cars working, except between the hours of 8 and 2. During this period of time, we have 54 ward cars on the street. So you can see that we have almost doubled our force during the peak crime hours. In my opinion, it's a sterling success here in Memphis.
It's on this basis that Dallas officials have decided to give a 4-day work week a trial. Besides policemen, some other workers will go on that 4-day week. They include people who need to see Dallasites before and after normal working hours. For example, the folks at Action Center. Most workers are eager to try out the new working hours. Of course, it gives them a 3-day weekend. The city figures it will not cost any more money this way. There remains the very real possibility that if the experiment is a success, City Manager Scott McDonald will recommend that the City Council approve permanent 4-day work weeks for about half the city's 10,000 employees. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News, on the move.
Basically, what it amounted to is that I have been trying to attempt to get these records cleared up from the office of the FBI, also of Sheriff Evans. Sheriff Evans is holding this over my head for possible running for county commissioner against his friend Dick Andersen.
And he is attempting to bribe you to keep you from running?
I would say that this would be the only conclusion I could draw.
Are you planning to file charges against the sheriff?
Not at this time. The only interest that I would like to have is the records be cleared so that I can determine what I should do in the future.
Do you have any personal knowledge of any laws against bribing a possible candidate?
I know of no such law. I sure don't.
So this is a moral rather than a legal issue?
I would say so at this time.
Well, I think the option, of course, we could sit tight and not do anything, or the main thing, as I see it, is not an option. We'll comply with the law on reporting, campaign contribution reporting, and I'm not sure that this all falls under the law. They're assuming that I have powers that I do not have. In other words, you don't have the option to require all your filing candidates to file the report. Well, I think there's no problem on filing the report, but there's some other things that they requested, such as striking the name from the ballot, and as far as I know, I don't have any authority to do anything like that.
In other words, it's not within the province of the political party.
That's, as I see it right now, that's right.
Mrs. Downs, what time yesterday did you lose power?
It was about 10 minutes after 9 yesterday morning.
And you've been without power all this time?
Yes, we have.
Now, it has come back on while we were actually preparing to talk to you this morning. How long do you anticipate it staying on?
Well, it better stay on for good. I'm in bed with pneumonia. If it don't, somebody's in trouble.
What has this meant to you and your husband being without power now for 24 hours?
A whole bunch. I have a freezer in yonder, and I'm in bed with pneumonia, and I can't do without either one of them. Electricity or the heat or either one.
How did you get around last night?
with candles and a flashlight.
Is the heat electric?
Well, it's central heat and air, so it'd have to be electric. It won't burn without the electricity on.
So it picked a pretty good night to turn cool on you.
Well, it picked a pretty good night for the freezer to go out, too.
Did you think that you had a pretty reputable apartment building when you moved in here?
Well, I've been here 3 years. I thought it was pretty nice myself. I can't complain, except just this one time.
Anything like this ever happened before?
No, it hasn't.
Had it better happen again?
No, it hadn't. But I got a pretty good lawyer, I think.
Well, Jerry, of course, looking back in retrospect, it looks like an awfully big year, even larger perhaps than we might have thought if we were standing at the beginning and looking the other direction. One thing that has been very pleasing to me has been the 1969 road bond issue and its continuation. We're still right on time. We still are being able to get the projects bid at a price at least equal to, if not less than, the amount of money appropriated for it. There is money enough to finish it if it continues as was promised to the public. To me, that's a real accomplishment, and Judge Shook, the Director of Public Works, has due commendation for that, and his people. The building and completion of the Forensic Science Institute is another thing that's a real milestone, I think, for Dallas County. It is will be ready for beneficial occupancy in the first 5 or 6 days of January. So we're right on top of a new facility which will do a great deal. The historical plaza that you see across the street here is, I think, an indeed fine addition, another promise kept with the public that when the lot was available or the land was available, we would beautify the spot. I think it's turned out very well. It, by the way, was done pretty well within the dollar, too, that had been anticipated. There are many joint operations that were not existent a year ago. We have working with the Criminal Justice Council on with some federal money and some state and local monies, we've been able to improve several things in the juvenile area, especially a juvenile girls project of prevention of delinquency up housed in the YMCA. There are any number of student volunteer prevention projects and et cetera that are being carried on now that were not existent a year ago.
I think what we're going to strive to do is establish a running game like we've done in our last 10 games, and then throw the ball when we have to, and to offset their defense.
But you have to say that the Tennessee game, well, you can't say it was a fluke because when you lose, you lose. But still, you made so many yards on the ground and in the air.
Right, we did move the ball, but they're the type of team that the defense stopped us when they had to, and they just played a great game, and we'll have to give them all the credit in the world, especially their defense.
Did you have an especially good day against TCU, you and the club in general?
I think so, yes. Like, I had a good day running the ball, and TCU made some critical mistakes. I remember I threw a pass to my tight end, and they missed a tackle on him. He ran 60 yards, down the 5-yard line, and I think they made a couple plays like that, and that one's just that I can remember, and that which hurt them. They hit real well and everything, but just that they just made the mistakes.
You're looking forward then to playing Texas?
Yes, definitely, especially Texas, because we do have a rivalry. I think Penn State has something to prove, and I just hope we can.
I think I've been working out pretty hard since the Baylor game. I've been running since the Baylor game, and so really hadn't been. I've been running a lot. Executing wise, it's taken a while to get it back, but I think we worked hard for this bowl game. And I think it's. I don't know, we're up to par. I guess I'll find out Saturday.
What does the Penn State defense? How does it compare with any other teams you've played, Eddie?
Well, I think everybody we play is about as large as they are. They have a good defense. They run what we call similar defense towards, like ours, an 8-man front defense, and we faced 2 or 3 teams this year that use an 8-man front, and and they're, you know, agile and quick, and like the record would say. They got a real good defense.
Eddie's had a great career here at the university, and you got to be objective looking at it from Coach Royal's standpoint. I know he had a hard decision to make on who to start, and I feel like I'll be in the game, and as long as we win the game, that's all that really matters.
When did Coach Ballard contact you about the Aggie job?
Before Christmas.
Did you always think Aggies were pretty good anyway?
He's like a good Aggie.
No, I tell you, that's I really didn't. I talked to him several different times between before Christmas and after Christmas, and it's going to be a hard adjustment for me. It's, you know, my older brother graduated from Texas, and I just have had orange blood for a long time. But you got to be realistic that I think Coach Ballard's a great football man. I think he's going to make a winner out of A&M, and I think I'd like to be part of it.
1971 was a fun year for the United States of America. It started the way 1970 ended. A mini recession, high unemployment, even higher inflation. Mid-year in August, the president declared a wage and price freeze. Later, phase 2 with the limited controls. The ultimate move was the devaluation of the U.S. dollar. What it all means, of course, especially the last two moves, is hopefully the end of that mini recession, lower unemployment figures, and of course, a more booming economy. But even at that, Dallas area citizens didn't have it that bad in 1971. For instance, the Texas Employment Commission reports that the unemployed rate for the city of Dallas in November, the last month available, was 3%. That's only half the national average, which is around 6%. It does leave, however, 22,000 persons in the city of Dallas looking for jobs. That doesn't seem like a great number until you realize that the number of unemployed is down by some 4,700. In other words, 4,700 other people have either quit looking for jobs or have moved out of this market. But what about the people who are on the job? Construction jobs like this one and the thousands of consumer-oriented jobs in the Dallas area are keeping 727,000 of the area's 750,000 employable with regular paychecks. Simply put, this means that 97% of the people in the Dallas area are taking home checks every Friday. What are they doing with them? Well, some people obviously started putting their money back into the stock market. That was evidenced by a near 100-point rise in the magic Dow Jones Industrial Average late in the year. It was an up-and-down year for the stock market. It took a tremendous spurt when the president first announced his wage and price controls, got awfully close to 1,000, got up around the 950 mark at one time, and then faltered by almost 200 points. But that rise toward the end seemed to indicate renewed consumer confidence, not only in America, but in the stock market itself. But consumers are doing other things with their money as well. Most of that money, of course, is going into retail sales. Not only in the city of Dallas, but in the nation in general, retail sales are, indeed, much higher at the end of 1971. Well, as you look back over this year, you have to admit it started a little bit rough. But at the end, things certainly look brighter. That 1,000 mark for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, for instance. We didn't make it this year, but most assuredly we will by the end of 1972. That seems to be the prognostication of most of the Wall Street analysts. Another analyst, Mr. Jim McCormick of Epler, Guerin, and Turner, gave me this analysis of our situation back in February of this year, and it's amazing how beautifully it fits. 1969 was the culmination of a monumental drunk. 1970 was the hangover, and 1971 is likely to be the year in which we will take the cure, a sober period in which we will collectively promise ourselves to never take another drink. And certainly I think we agree today that maybe we've learned our lesson, and maybe we won't take another drink. If you sit there tonight unemployed, you probably think this is a bunch of hogwash. But 3% is an amazingly low unemployment level for a city the size of Dallas. From Commerce Street, in the middle of downtown, this is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News. Have a happy New Year.
It's so great to be here in the largest state in the Union. I never believed it till I drove across it.
It's kind of a long way.
Goes forever.
Who's going to win a football game?
Who's playing?
I'll give you a hint. It's the same.
Texas, Penn State, Dallas, and San Francisco.
San Francisco and Dallas are playing against each other? Oh, what is it? Baseball or what is it? Football? Well, who do you think? I have a feeling he knows more about this. I wouldn't even know the ball if I saw it. Who is going to win? Texas? Of course. You know, Jean Dixon is one of these ladies who predicts things like that. In fact, her greatest prediction, she predicted Franklin Delano's death at his funeral.
Remarkably correct.
Yes.
What is this? How long have you been sick?
I went to bed Christmas morning. I was sick Christmas Eve night. I went to bed with it Christmas morning. Pneumonia.
there's something that will come out of that is not a truth. There is something behind China that will come out of that, and it will not be good. You see, it will not be good at all for our country, and it will show that this is a subversive force. It is not for good. Now, nothing will happen to Nixon, but before the end of the year, there will be an assassination of the hierarchy. Someone in government.
Can you say who you think it might be?
I don't want to say who, but I will say that the vice president is going to have to be very careful. The beginning of the year, things are going to change and the economy is going to look very much brighter, but it will be a false brightness. Now, by Easter, it will start to change, and there will be rumblings in the country that will cause, the sort of rumblings, traumatic rumblings of things in the government, mostly, that will start rumbling and start promoting things, and they will come throughout the summer months. We will have many things that will happen, and then there will be a pause, and then in the fall, now by September, very, very many traumatic things will start happening in the government. It will shake the country.
All right. I want one last prediction on the lighter side. Could you please tell me who's going to win the Cowboys game this weekend? Will the Cowboys be the new champions?
They can be if they will be careful, but they could, if they're not careful, lose by